Hey everybody, Edo here, and I am thrilled. I'm so excited for this Kickstarter Advanced video because this is something that I learned for the first time during the Heroes and Tricks campaign. And so I learned this from John Gilmore. He taught me to it. He took me through the ropes, and now I'm going to teach you. This is advanced. This is not for somebody who is doing their first Kickstarter or not sort of on top of their game. You really have to be organized and on top of things to do it. But doing an online blind beta test in front of your campaign is awesome. It is awesome. It's great for your game. It's great for your campaign. I highly recommend it, but it is really, I would not take on highly customized pieces in a campaign. I would not do this kind of thing. But I want to tell you about it, and I'm going to give you access to some materials, the materials I used for this campaign, so that you can do it on your own. And mini plug, Heroes and Tricks, live on Kickstarter. Won't say it again. Check it out. Okay, so you have your game. First, what do you need? Okay, you're going to do, when I'm saying online beta, we had 200 signups for playtesting Heroes and Tricks, and I would say probably realistically 50 or 60 people came all the way through, and 120, so maybe it was 40 people, 120, 130 playtests all in, maybe a little more, a little less. I'd have to do the final count. But you are going to need some materials that I'll set up and tell you about, but in particular, right, you need to have a game that is in really good shape. It needs to be in really good shape. It has to be very playable. You have to be very confident with it. You need a print and play, and you need a well set up print and play. You can't just have this hodgepodge of files. It has to be a PDF they can print with a board, whatever. You can have a Game Crafter version that they can buy if you want to go that route, but really, in terms of this type of size and scale, you want it to be printable. You want it to be something that somebody can set up on their own, and you need to have rules. They've got to be good. They've got to be rules that you have blind tested before locally. You do not take this on unless you meet those conditions. In addition, you will also need your P&P, your print and play, your rules, as well as instructions on how to set up, make, create your print and play, right? In the case of Heroes and Tricks, the cards were really easy, right? You just print them and cut them out. However, the box wasn't. And I had to create instructions around how to take a deck box, where to buy one, how to cut it, how to work the dividers, all of that stuff so people could play it the way that I was hoping to get it tested. And they did, and it was very helpful, okay? So you're going to have the P&P, you're going to have the instructions, you're going to have the rules, okay? I'll get to a few other things, but again, those need to be in really good shape to get started. If they're not, don't do this. If they are, let's keep going, all right? So first, outreach, right? If you're not ready to be part of a community, to outreach to people, to try to grab people online, right? You might not even be ready for a Kickstarter, but you're certainly not ready for this. In addition, you have to really be willing to, you have to be organized. These are those key things I talked about before. You need to be organized, you need to be responsive, and you need to be respectful of your beta testers. You need this to be a great experience. If you don't have the time or the patience or the effort or the team to make this an incredible experience for those beta testers, ones where they walk away saying, I felt like gave that guy my time or that team my time and it was worth it, don't do it. This is not a requirement for some Kickstarter. This is walk away. Okay, so Ed, I want to do it. So you need to first set up you can do this in a variety of ways, but some sort of sign-up form. I used a Google form, I will show you it, that says, hey, I'm interested in this Kickstarter. Hey, I have the time. This is about the size of my game group. John had this great question that was like, do you follow instructions, yes or no? And then small text was a secondary instructions that said, if you follow instructions, hit no, which was about 50-50, amazingly enough, on people hitting that or missing it. I had a nice, do you want to sign up for the Pencil First Games newsletter? Which 3/4 of them said yes. So in and of itself, that was super valuable. But to continue, and a few other pieces of detail. Again, I'm going to link the actual form, not in the video because it won't change, but in the description. I'm going to include these things so you can look at versions, okay? So Twitter, Facebook, Google+, Reddit, whatever. You say, hey, we're going to have this beta test. Do you want to sign up? Now, part of this is you have a hook. The hook is, if you beta test, you'll get a free copy of the game. Whoa. Giving away free copies of the game? Initial reaction is like, I don't know. What if there's a ton? How am I going to do it? Oh my, blah, 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 blah. Okay? You have to think of this as part making your game better and part marketing. You need to sort of say, am I going to spend $750 on Board Game Geek ads? Or am I going to do Facebook ads? Am I going to be willing to give away free copies of my game? Now, a couple things to keep in mind. One, you are able to say this is assuming it funds, right? So you caveat that if it doesn't fund, they're not going to get a game. Most people are pretty comfortable with that. Two, you're going to define a number of plays and feedback forms that they have to fill out. Okay? So you're going to say, hey, this was a small game with short play cycles. You might say 10 or 15 plays. For a bigger game, I mean, when Jamie did Scythe, I don't know, he might have done 4 games, 7 games. I don't know what the number is. But you got to sort of think about how much time you want a person to put into it. But if they do, you send them a copy, and you say in your head, okay, well, copy cost me $10, shipping $10. So it depends on the game, whatever. Let's just say it's a big box game, and the whole thing's going to cost you $50. Well, all right. So maybe I'm only comfortable with 20 people, or for $1,000 worth of stuff. It's in the back of the Kickstarter. Some risk. You got to figure that number out. Know that number. So, but it's okay because right now you're just going to get signups. Signups don't mean giveaways. It's the top of your funnel, and I'm not going to get into marketing and SQLs and MQLs and all these, but you're getting at the top of a funnel of people. You want as many people involved, and then you're going to work your way down. It's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay? So, outreach, sign up. Okay? 200 people. Then you're going to send them all a group email. You can use MailChimp or just your own personal email, but please, please, please BCC people. If you're going to send an email, never, ever, ever CC a bunch of people who don't know each other. That is just terrible. And it still happens. I just got an email from somebody looking for reviewers. Not only did they do a Dear John, everyone got the same email, but he included everyone's email. Don't do that. BCC for a reason. Okay, so you're then going to send in an email and you're going to say, hey, here's the deal. To get that copy, you have to play this many times, and I want you to sign an NDA. I felt weird at first because, how do we really care about an NDA? It seems like a hassle. And John had done it before. And I've done NDAs, but they're just there's nothing that yeah, you could steal something, I guess. I mean, it protects in both directions. But here's one thing about an NDA. Whether or not you really think the legality of it's important or you need it there, it's this extra step and extra commitment somebody's going to do in order to get involved. So they're sort of doubling down on you, and they feel like you care. Even if I didn't need the NDA, I'm saying, hey, look, this is important to me. I'd like you to sign an NDA. And they have to say, you know what? I hear you. I'll sign the NDA. And it's important to me, too, because I'm going to invest in doing this for you. Because I have a chance to get a game, and I want to participate. I honestly think it's worth doing for that reason. Now, I'm not going to provide a link to an NDA. It just makes me uncomfortable to provide a legal document to other people. Because who knows if it has a hole in it or what? I don't want that responsibility. You can figure out how to get your own NDA or whether or not it's important to you. Safer case is yes. But I leave that to you. But you send an NDA. So but you don't send it to everyone. Sorry. You get everyone to sign up. But then you're going to use something which is called cohorts, or just groups of those people. You don't want to do the playtest all at the same time because your game's going to get better each step of the way, and you want to control that, how many copies am I going to give away? So if you say have 200 people and you let in 25, you can see how many of those 25 come through, or let in 50 and how many come through. And you can do it for a while and see how it goes from there. So if I only have, so of those 200 people, I think the first cohort was 50, and maybe 20 sent me NDAs. So it already cut underneath, right? And something I did, which you could, or it's up to you, to make things a little easier, I didn't make them like sign and fax. I mean, they had to sign it, but I didn't have them fax it. I was willing to take a nicely lit photo of an NDA just to like make it a little easier. Not everyone has access to a fax machine. Okay, so you pick your cohort, you bring them through, and now you're going to be bringing them through to this Google folder, which they only have access to, that's going to have your print and play. It's going to have your instructions. It's going to have your welcome letter. Actually, it's going to point them to the welcome letter. The welcome letter is going to reiterate the sort of obligation to them and you in terms of they have a certain number of plays. They have a certain number of plays. You're going to give them a free copy if it funds. Helpful hints on how to follow you on Twitter and blah, 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 blah. But then you're going to link them to the key information, which is, again, here's the printed play, here's the how to put it all together, here are the instructions, all in this welcome letter where you're appreciative. The other thing that you're going to have and need to set up is a forum, two things. One is a questionnaire per play, right? So every time they play, they have to go to Google Form and fill it out. I will give you an example. It's going to be based on heroes and tricks, but it'll give you an idea of the kind of information you're trying to get, right? How long did it take? How many players did you? Who are you? How long? How many players? Where it was important for heroes and tricks. You're going to say, did you have fun? Yes or no? 1 to 5. Fun. Complexity. Was it interesting? These basic questions, and then you're going to say, what problems did you have? What issues? Were there any rule questions? What would you recommend? And they have to fill it out every time. So you're going to be aggregating and collecting all of this data. Google Forms does an okay job of aggregating it. It's not great. You're going to have to spend time on your own. And that's a big part of it. But you're going to start collecting that. So you need that as well. Lots of prep. This is a major undertaking. Not quite a Kickstarter, but this isn't like an email. Like, it's a lot of work. Okay, the other thing you're going to do is set up a forum for discussion and engagement with this new community, with these beta testers, with these people you're now going to be interacting with constantly. I've ran communities and done things for Facebook games and mobile games, and we usually use online sites or forum sites, but most people don't have that easily accessible. You can do a Facebook group, which I was going to do, but John was like, no, use Reddit. And I was like, Reddit, really? Most people's experience on Reddit from a Kickstarter creator perspective is I try to do stuff and I get shut down by admins at every turn. Dealing with Reddit is like trying to submit images to Board Game Geek, right? Like, it's like the world's against you sometimes. You're like, the link wasn't formatted correctly. You okayed this image, but not it. I'm like, but if you create your own Reddit page, if you have a subreddit, rather, that's private and closed, that all goes away. It all goes away because you control it and none of it happens. It's in fact the admins that do all this stuff because they're trying to manage a huge influx of people and doing it the right way. Sure. In your case, it then allows you to have a Reddit page that's really easy to manage. Upvoting and downvoting is really easy. Going in threads and reading comments, I was really impressed. It was super helpful for me. I would use Reddit again for that purposes. So on that Reddit page, then you got to say, hey, you make some starting threads on what, things you're going to learn and questions you have. Anytime you do an update, you need to create a change list. You need to update your files and your rules. You need to have version numbers. You need to be responsive regularly to questions and feedback, and you need to listen and you need to make changes based on that. You don't need to, but you want to be in a position where people are contributing and you're listening and you're trying. And someone says, hey, this would be a cool item. Give it a shot. You need to do those things, right? Well, what's the benefit of all this? One, you have this large volume of people who are engaged, playing the game, and interested. Now, in many ways, they might not be talking about it too much, but they are going to talk about it once it goes live because they're getting a free copy if it funds, not if it doesn't fund, right? So they're incentivized to push your campaign. They've played your game again and again and again. The rule feedback, text, grammar, spelling, ease of understanding, so broad, so helpful. Getting that many plays of a game is awesome. It is awesome. And developing this relationship is hugely valuable. Then the reality is, some people just read the instructions. Some people play a game. Some people play 3 games. And that threshold, the actual number of people who you ultimately are obligated to send a copy to, I felt was very reasonable. I felt that for that kind of investment and my time and Jonathan's time, because he was on the forums as well, pushing through it was certainly worth the effort. So this is really fun and cool. I really enjoyed this, but it was a lot of time. I'm going to link these files below. Check them out. I'm not going to spend the time to like make them. Like they're just going to be the ones I use for heroes and tricks, right? I think I'm going to do it in a way that like you don't. I'm not going to give you access to the Reddit. I might edit some things down so you don't. But I mean, I'm not going to like genericize it. Make it generic for you. You're going to have to do that on your own. Because actually Jonathan did give me some starting ones, but we had to craft it and turn it and work it through. This would be worth doing after Kickstarter 2. This would be worth doing in lots of different ways, especially if you were a bigger company. I think there'd be some reluctance, but there's value there too. This was awesome, particularly for this game. It really helped, really honed in on the game. It really refined it. We made some great decisions from that, and it just made it such a great game, and I'm really happy with it. And I expect to do it for more and more games. I don't know if it's every game, but many of them for sure. More to come. Hopefully it was helpful. Subscribe, share, and all that good stuff. Make some great games and do some great beta tests. Thanks.